If you would like, tag, and share the broadcast, we'd greatly appreciate it. Let us know that you're there. All right, all right, all right. All right, we see y'all coming in on Facebook, coming in on YouTube, coming in on Periscope, Twitter. Hey, you can find us in all those places. Come on in. Happy Friday. Hope that you've had a great day as we come to the end of the week. Hope that you're excited for your weekend. 4th of July, as I said this morning, I'm participating. I don't know if I'm celebrating participating. How about y'all? Y'all participating or y'all celebrating? What y'all doing?
I'm chilling.
I'm
chilling. I'm chilling.
You chilling?
Yep.
I don't blame you. I removed these names. I can't see Sharita or Ralph because they short. Okay, well, Ralph's not short. Sharia's short. She got on heels, but you're not standing up. You 5'2". Lord Jesus. She got heels on, still a midget. Oh, see, see, she wants to say Kiki Hill. That's what she wants to say.
Look, that was a snarky laugh.
We already get started.
Oh, you found it.
You shared it. You don't share it. We need some more folks come on in here. Come on. It's the holiday weekend. We know y'all at home.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We know y'all at home. Come on in this room. We know y'all's at home. Come on in. It's gonna be a shady night because 3 of us together and Miss Diva Deluxe over there with her fedora. Her hat tipped to the side.
It's tilted to the side.
Hey, hey.
That sounds like a sweet message.
All right. We don't get started. Yeah. Again, this is Prophets After Dark. Come on in. You're in the right place. Don't touch that down. Don't go anywhere. All right. You ready? All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, grace and peace be unto you from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. Welcome to Prophets After Dark. This is a real, raw, and relevant perspective from prophets, and we are so glad that you are with us tonight. My name is Apostle Dr. David E. Jackson, but ADJ for short, and I am so excited to be here in person with 2 of my co-hosts and my other co-hosts virtually. Why don't you greet us, Prophet Sharita, and say something to the people? That's all right, Prophet Ralph.
Hey, how everybody doing? It's the Hood Minister.
The Hood Minister. The Hood Minister.
It's all love.
All right, Prophet, talk to us.
Hey guys, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, listen, we're so glad that you are with us. We want to wish you a happy 4th of July weekend. Want you to be safe. The only thing I'm going to say is don't turn up more for 4th of July than you did on Juneteenth. That's all I got to say about the matter. But let's start there. What do y'all think? Is it right to be turned up for 4th of July more than we turned up for Juneteenth?
No.
No, why not?
I think that 4th of July has a lot behind it that a lot of people don't know about. But when it comes to Juneteenth, we already know what it is. We know the beginning and the end is out of it. So it's like we should value more of things that we know and have knowledge and wisdom on versus things that people just have told us and we accept it as true. So that's my feeling.
Why you said no and then turned over to Ralph? I want to know what you think.
I piggyback off what he said. I think that we need to educate ourselves about why we're celebrating particular holidays. And once you educate yourself, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to want to celebrate it. And I think right now, because of everything that we're going through in these times, that we can we can celebrate family and celebrate coming together and celebrate just being in America. We are Americans, you know, unless you came by way of another, you know, if you came directly by way of another
You
continent.
immigrated, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for helping me with my choice of words. If you are an immigrant, it's different. But as the born, you know, American, I can celebrate being an American, but I more so want to focus on my family and my friends and people that I love, as opposed to really thinking about the 4th of July. So I think it's important, number one, to educate yourself about it, know why they celebrate it, and just enjoy your family.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Diane? Prophetess Diane?
Yeah, I agree with Sharita and Ralph. You know, coming from the Caribbean, being a Caribbean American, you know, unfortunately, Juneteenth wasn't something that, well, I can speak for me. I can't speak for all Virgin Islanders. Let me make that clear, because y'all ain't going to come for me tonight. All right? Yeah, you know, listen, you know your yardies, okay? But yeah, 4th of July was something we were taught, we educated on celebrating it, understanding who fought this war, whatever. But Juneteenth and understanding, you know, what happened with, you know, with knowing that, you know, the slaves were freed, but it took what, 2 years, you know, before they knew that they were actually free. Like knowing the history and stuff, you know, there were gaps in the communication and education in letting us know why it was important that we should be aware of this and why we celebrate. And so in my adult years now, I know better. So now I'm choosing. So it's just like we all have a right to choose what takes precedence when we want to celebrate national holidays. And really, I think with Juneteenth, it's about family. Like Sharita was saying, it's about family, us, our Blackness, where we come from, the struggle, and appreciating that, and knowing that the struggle still continues. So 4th of July, yeah, you know, I'm proud to be American, but I'm also proud to be a Black woman in America.
Yeah, that's real deal. And that's my whole attitude. You know, so I want to be clear, we are not anti-patriots. We are patriotic. We thank God for America. We pray for America. We want America to prosper. At the same time, to sit here and act like Black people who look like us have not been systematically oppressed for 401 years. You got to put that one on there. 401 years
Right.
in this country, and to go along drinking the 4th of July blue, red, and white Kool-Aid, I think it's a problem. I'm not going to do it. And so I think, and let me say something I think bigger to keep in mind, that for Black people, our worldview is both and. That's how I can be both proud to be American and not drink the patriotic Kool-Aid this weekend. But most white people are it's either or. So they can't understand how I can critique America on 4th of July and still say I'm patriotic. That's your worldview, that's your reality. But I can sit in both spaces and be good with that. So I just want to be clear about that. We believe in America and we pray for America. At the same time, I'm not celebrating nothing until that Black Attorney General in Kentucky convict them cause for killing Breonna Taylor in her own house. I'm not celebrating nothing until I keep forgetting the autistic guy's name. Who's the autistic guy?
The young guy, he'll come to us. Oh boy.
The guy, y'all know on Facebook. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I know. Until those officers come to justice, the young man here in Atlanta that got shot up 70-something times, those officers have yet to come to justice because of qualified immunity. Qualified immunity. I'm sorry. So until we address that, and I'm not sure how many of y'all have been following the news right now, you know, they had a federal law enforcement reform bill that was put out there. The GOP put out a 106-page document. The only Black Republican senator, Scott from South Carolina, was kind of spearheading this. They have Elijah McClain. Thank you, Dr. Me. You said the same thing this morning. Thank you, Elijah McClain. Did you watch the video? Like, dude was like, "I'm different. I'm different."
I cried. Yeah, it is so heart wrenching to watch that. I was in tears watching that thing.
And
He's basically telling them, I don't hurt anyone. You know, he was telling them about himself, and they weren't
Yes.
even listening.
The best way that he could.
Yes, it's too much.
But see, but it goes, that's what I'm saying. It goes to a deeper issue of our culture has been fed this reality that I don't care what kind of black man you are. You can be an educated black man, well-dressed black man, a child, old, it doesn't matter. Black male, yeah, disabled, black male flesh is dangerous. Black male flesh must be attacked hard and fast. That is the caricature, the black male brute that's been put out here for decades, and it still exists, right? So they can hear him express himself. They just saw this as a black guy who's resisting, and we cannot deny the fact that you have people in law enforcement who go into law enforcement for the sole purpose of harassing black people and being able to justify it legally. So I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm not going to buy into that foolishness. So I can say, okay, I'm participating. I have family here. They all quiet as church mouses. I know the Lord working on them. And these are not quiet people. My family not quiet, but they quiet in the house right now. But I'm participating. I'm glad they're here. I'm glad that I have my friends here with me and Diane virtually. But at the same time, we have to speak truth to power, and we have to acknowledge the fact there's still a lot going on in our country. We got a whole lot of white folks who don't get it. Some of them don't want to understand, and some of them are trying to understand. So we got a lot of work to do. Anyway, I'm gonna get off mine.
It just makes me angry. I really do. I think about people that's incarcerated for so long. You know, I got a lot of friends, a lot of good men who's incarcerated for crimes that they committed when they was teenagers. I have a brother, Ricky Coleman, that's in prison right now, and he's been in prison since he was 15.
Wow.
And he's like 33 now. And they took the life off of him, but then now he forced to depend on a parole system with the same mindset. And I'm not saying all of everybody on the board is like that, but if you have one person that's on any board or any part of any organization that determined of a person's freedom, if they have any racism in them at all, they shouldn't even qualify to be on no board or part of no organization at all. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy, and it gets me angry because you have a lot going on out here in America of people that's free in society who's doing wrong, that these same men that you give badges to do the same thing that you toast the same men in prison for, but you let them get away and you just allow them to stay in prison for so long and just rot and just throw them out here thinking that they can do it on their own, which they can with Jesus with a good support system. But come on, you got to teach, it just make me angry. It really does. So I don't really like talking much about it because
I'm glad you're talking about it though, because all of this is tied together. We would need no law enforcement reform, police reform, if the criminal justice system as a whole was not set up as it is to target certain communities. They target the poor, they target Black men, and here's the other thing that's so messed up about it. It's not just criminal justice, it's education. It's a lot of factors working together systemically to make sure that they have a consistent pipeline. It's called the prison industrial complex. That consistent pipeline of Black guys who they start pinpointing in as early as the 3rd grade, tracking them to fail.
Yes.
To fail. Now, Diane, I know that you're a therapist and you work with kids.
I've done research. Yeah, all through my master's degrees and stuff, I've done research. I did a paper on this, that they start really early. They start, what a lot of people don't realize, the marginalization begins with young boys when they start labeling them ADHD. When the young boys start acting out, they already start slapping them with an IEP, an individual education plan. and right away they start funneling them into special education.
Yes.
So once you really start putting a child in special education, you've already labeled and marginalized them. And I'm telling you, the issue that Black people face, we know is spiritual in nature. We already know that, because there's no good reason in earth why there's so much systemic racism against Black people. And I don't care. You can be deaf, dumb, and blind if you want to, but they know it. They know it. They see it and they know it.
Yeah,
You know?
it's true.
Yeah.
I know Sharita, Pastor Sharita, you've worked with young people in a variety of capacities, and you've worked at education reform, you worked at the policy level. What have you seen in terms of how the system is set up to target Black people, especially Black boys?
Well, I can say I learned the truth about it more so in a leadership fellowship. They flew in a lot of people. They flew us across the country, and they flew all of these people, who had knowledge and information about the statistics and the facts. What they try to teach us is that Black children have a lower capacity for learning, but it's not true. It depends on what they're being taught. It depends on their environment. It depends on how much money their socioeconomic status, on where those children are going to be. And public schools typically are raising children to be worker bees. They're not, teaching children, about entrepreneurship. They're not teaching children, to the capacity of being Ivy League, taught students. They're not, teaching them about building character, teaching them about self-control. They're teaching all of the kids the same way when children learn, totally different. There are larger sized classrooms, and all of this is done on purpose. Because if you have less money, you're not going to be able to afford your children the best opportunities for them to grow and for them to have the opportunity to really be able to survive in America. And so that was something that I really learned. We don't have a lower capacity. I knew it, but just to hear the statistics that proved, that I believe it was Asian children are what they say is number one in their capacity for learning. I want to say African children, they were saying, and then white children, then Black children, Hispanic children, then Black children. We were like last on the totem pole. But it has nothing to do with their capacity for learning. It has something to do with their environment. And so if we shift and change in education reform, that's the reason why I fought so hard. Once I really learned the truth about it, I fought really hard to get bills passed. I worked in Georgia, I worked in Tennessee and in Mississippi to get bills passed, just to help all children have an equal or just a new option, not just traditional public schools if they could not afford an Ivy League school or a private school, just to have other options like charter schools, etc. So
I want to touch on that because that's something that we really need to be talking about. So tonight we're just really flowing on this current events and just really speaking into giving insight as well as prophetic perspective. But before we shift to education, because that's important, Dr. Sharita, I want to read something that Dr. Mia House says. She's a school teacher, and she says that police officers have come to talk to our students, our boys, and told them how the prisons are built based upon their achievement at the 3rd grade.
Wow.
I'm telling you. Yeah. They start. Yeah. I remember some years ago, there was a big push for Redland. And we have to understand there are so many money, the love of money. You have these pharmaceutical companies that are so connected in government systems. How do you, why did Redland become such an overprescribed medication all of a sudden? The moment a child is acting up, they want to diagnose the child and put them on medication.
right.
Of course.
And the thing is, what I realized is there's a lot of issues. Some of these kids, the nutrition is a problem. They're not getting enough sleep. They don't have balanced diets. So there's so much that's happening why a lot of these kids are not able to perform well in school.
Yeah. So again, this is such a interlocked thing. Like you got education, the school system, you got pharmaceuticals, you got criminal justice, you have environmental racism, which is where you live at is a lot of noise, the police constantly going through your neighborhood. Think about it. I'm telling you, the best sitcom that showed that was David Made Man. Have you ever seen that David Makes Man? It was on OWN. It came out. So David was a genius. He was very gifted, but he had so many traumatic experiences growing up in the projects in Miami, whatever that famous project is in Miami. He like had PTSD and was almost like hallucinational. He would have these hallucinations in his mind that he would lose track of what's happening in reality. And he had to be bused from where he lived out to this very high-end kind of preppy school. And all the things that David went through just to survive, having to raise his brother, his mom worked a dead-end job. She was sick. She was getting over an addiction. You had the drug boys, the dope boys trying to get him in the game. The main kingpin was his mentor, his only positive male figure. He got murdered. He saw him get murdered, and he was low-key kind of running the game, but also trying to get out of the hood to get a better. So that's environmental racism, where you don't have access to decent food. As you were saying, Pakistan, you don't have access to a safe environment. You can't sleep because you're up all night. His brother would wet the bed. He had to get up and wash his brother's clothes for school, take him to school, run, get on the public bus to go across town. And he get to school late, and they're like, look at you messing up, misrepresenting Black people. It's not that many Black, but they don't understand his environment. And so when people ask me, I had a good friend asked me from another country, what is this whole Black Lives Matter thing about? What is that? All lives matter. And this is a person of color from another country. I don't understand. All lives matter. And when you begin to look at all of these pieces, how they have been purposely, intentionally, systematically stacked together against one group of people to their demise, and their demise brings the benefit and the advancement of another person. You want to ask me why I say Black Lives Matter? All Black Lives Matter. It's like, because this has been happening 401 years, but God is turning it. He is turning it. He is Jehovah Goel for us. He's our kinsman redeemer. And I believe that he is showing himself as Jehovah Goel. He is our redeemer. He is fighting for us, and he's showing himself strong on our behalf. And it's just time, yo. It's time. That ADHD thing is important. I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to hit the school thing again. I was diagnosed as ADHD. My brother was diagnosed as ADHD. But you know what? We were not ADHD. We were gifted. We were gifted. We were gifted. When they took our IQ, we were right at the genius scale of the IQ. Our IQ is right at genius level, right? And so, but when you got Black boys in a mostly white rural school system, and I'm gonna tell you what's going on with me. I'm sure you the same thing, Ralph. You are brilliant, you're gifted, you're creative. But when you give me work, I'm done with my work in 10 minutes. What was supposed to take 30 minutes, I'm done in 10 minutes, and it's correct. So I start playing. I start messing with folks. And then the teacher's like, what you doing? And then me, I'm gonna tell you what my problem was. I had a slick mouth. I got in trouble as a kid because my mouth. My mother over here, she'll tell you, I had a slick mouth. I was always getting in trouble. I was great.
I hear her say amen.
I hear her say nothing. We mother say amen. I was always getting in trouble with my mouth. I was prophetic. I had an old soul. I was perceptive. Even though I had challenges, I still had all those things wrapped up in one package. And I was always getting in trouble because I would challenge the teacher. Teacher tell me something, I would give her. I remember one time my teacher's like, she was messing with me, and I was just, so I said, Miss whatever Powell, Miss Powell, how many degrees do you have? She says, I have my bachelor's. I said, well, my mother has 3 degrees. No, she got 3, but like, what? But I'm working. I was like, damn. So, but versus saying, now to Miss Powell's credit, actually, she was the first teacher I had, and this was like the 4th or 5th grade, that recognized that. Who was the first seat? Yeah, go Queen Mother. We don't stir her up now. Who was the first seat to recognize?
She's setting the record straight, ain't she?
Who was before Miss Powell? Miss Powell was the first seat I had. Oh yes, when I broke my hip in the 1st grade. Ms. Knight recognized that I was gifted and not a problem child. See, I'm saying that to say it has to do with the perspective of the teacher. If the teacher assumes that an overactive Black boy is a problem child and needs to be controlled, i.e. through Ritalin or Adderall, then look at what you're doing to the genius of this child.
Yes.
Right? And then and then thank God for a educated, prophetic mother who refused to let her sons become a statistic. But everybody, that ain't their testimony. So what do you do? And then thank God for, and then thank God we can depend on our church, because let me not even start talking about my church. They didn't care nothing about young people. If you wasn't a big giver, if you wasn't a child of a big giver in our church, they didn't care nothing about you. So if I didn't have a mama that cared, and then if we went to that church, we would have definitely been lost. Thank God for the Boys and Girls Club. We went to the Boys and Girls Club. They helped us. But imagine all these black boys. I feel like I'm talking a lot. All these black boys.
My son probably would have made it in high school. Yeah, I agree, because my son probably would have made it out of high school if I wasn't on top of things, because I realized from my very young age that I would study his ABCs with him, have him read, and he would just go back and like stumble and he would have a hard time. And I would take him to the doctor and ask the doctor if something is wrong. But I thank God that by the time he was in the second grade, a teacher who was caring, she said, Diane, we got to look a little closer at how your son, how Donnie is learning. Come to find out, he learns differently. He's more artistic. But yeah, he can draw, he can do everything. But when it comes to academics, he learned differently. You got to give him more time. You see? So imagine if people don't care, this is how children fall on the wayside.
Mm-hmm. And not even that they don't care. Some people care, they just don't know how to be observant. They don't know what they're looking at when they're looking at children because of the way that they're learning when they're educated. You're not taught to look at children from another eye. You're taught to just observe them, look at their behavior, and judge them according to how they're behaving in the classroom. But no, you need to look closer. Why are they behaving that way? What is it that you can offer that child to serve them differently? You know, what can you offer the child who is talking too much and who is trying to run your classroom? Can you allow them a leadership position as opposed to putting them in trouble? And it brings me back to my story growing up. You know, I had a fourth grade teacher to say that I was going to be pregnant by the time I turned 14.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said I was going to be pregnant. My mother was pregnant at the time. And I came for Halloween as a pregnant woman because my mother was pregnant. And so I heard her say to another teacher that, yo, we know who's going to be pregnant by the time they turn 14. And then also this same teacher, I was in the fourth grade and I wanted to read really big books. And I had a hard time really listening, probably going all the way up into high school, listening to what the teacher was teaching me. I pretty much self-taught myself so much. I would go to the library and just sit and grab all of these thick books. Now I know why God had me reading these books. I would get like Sigmund Freud. I got like quote books and poetry books like this thick, and I would read them all night. Why? I don't know. If books on anatomy, well, I'm a healer. You know, just think about, you know, all of the different reasons why God would have a child reading these thick books. So she saw me in the library grabbing this thick book. No, you need to read something like this little book. And I was looking at this lady, and I'm thinking in my head, I read big books. You know, but I said, I'm not going to argue with her. I just grabbed a little book. I could read that thing in a couple of hours, not even. But it's just, you're looking at me from a different eye. And even to this day, I learn totally different. If it's easy, it can be more challenging for me. If it's difficult, I can learn it just like that. And I can do it really, really, really fast. You know, to the point where if I'm amongst a group of people on the job or wherever, I'm going to be done. It's going to take me time to learn it. First of all, I'll probably learn it a lot slower than everyone. But once we all get out there to do it, I'm going to do it the fastest. And then you're going to think I'm competing with other people because I'm going to do it way faster and it's going to be with excellence. But that's the way that I learn. You know, at the end of the day, if a teacher could observe something like that, you could have utilized me for so much more in that classroom, and you could have served me a whole lot better. I would have gotten to where I am a whole lot sooner. You know, there's nothing wrong with a lot of these children. It's just that these teachers have to be taught how to have an eye, and they have to be equipped with tools to teach these children in a different manner, as opposed to just one way where you're all looking at the teacher and she's teaching you one way. And if you're not picking it up, you have a learning disability or you have a behavior disorder.
And you know, it
True.
really lets you know how hard the teacher's job is. That's
Yeah.
a lot, you know.
Teachers have a lot on them.
It's true.
I mean, education, I mean, all these industries have changed. Industries have changed. I remember I thought I was going to teach. I tried to teach high school.
Me
Man.
too. I
And
tried,
I
but
quickly discovered that wasn't for me. I didn't have the same grace as my mother, who taught school for over 20 something years. And I just didn't have it. She taught special education, and I watched her work with these young people, and she didn't give up on these young people. And even today, they see her, and I'm like, Miss Jackson, thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you. But I tried it, and I was like, education has changed. Primarily, the administration don't even support the teachers. You can't teach if you don't have support of your administration. Funds are being cut. It's just a lot. Again, all systematically happen, which leads me to this discussion. As prophets, we have to be looking ahead for what is coming so that we can alert God's people so that they can be aware. Education, as we knew it, would never be the same again. It would never be the same again. And so we have to start looking at alternative routes of education. Because reality, as you said, Father Sharita, the traditional model wasn't working for most people anyway.
Right.
right.
I mean, I think all of us can testify the traditional model school did not work for us.
It never really worked.
It never worked for me because
It worked for one kind of child.
I didn't go. I was diagnosed as a kid with ADHD. They had me on Adderall, Risperdal, Zoloft.
Oh my God.
I mean, all in one. You know.
Jesus.
I'm
I
studying this
remember
thing.
I remember I used to fake like I'm taking my medicine, and they'll
open your mouth.
yeah, and I still find a way to not take it. Go to school, act terrible, right? I'm bad. I'm up and down, up and down, up and down. And they think they say, well, he's taking his medicine. Why is he not calm? Not knowing that I wasn't taking it. So when I went to the doctor upped my dosage because he felt like that what I was taking wasn't enough.
Wow.
I just wasn't taking it. So when they upped my dose and they said they came to a system on how they can monitor me taking it, I was forced to take it. Now when I go to school, I'm in a zombie state. They know to see me jumping from wall to wall, acting crazy, joking, always with a smile on my face. If anybody can tell you as a child, I always had a smile on my face. I love smiling, I love laughing, I love making people happy. But when they put me on the medicine, which I'm telling you, medicine is the worst decision you ever could make. I don't care how bad or how whatever they say about your son or daughter, do not put them on medication, because what it did for me, it took my personality away. It took my energy away. So now when people looking at me like, why are you looking like that? Why are you moving slow? Why you ain't saying that? It's because of the medicine. It drained. It took my personality away. It took my swagger away, and it had me to a zombie-like state. And I stopped looking at this world in a kid mindset and a kid point of view, and I started looking at it at an adult point of view, because my mind had the time to be still. And now I'm listening and learning, I'm learning more, but I want to move, but I can't move like I want to. And that's the thing with ADHD. You got to allow a child to do his thing. You got ADHD, that's a gift. Because I tell my kids now that I have a mentor program called BAD. It's an antonym called Beloved and Delivered. Teaching kids how to listen, learn, and observe. I tell my kids all the time, the greatest speakers that you see right now, most of them have ADHD. And if they don't have ADHD, that was taught by a person with ADHD. Because in order for you to go and move and to be able to convey a message with so much energy and so much self, you have to have ADHD. Because if you don't have
I
it,
do 50,000 things. I'm telling you. I got this
Right.
business, I got this going on. They like, girl,
you gotta learn how to capture a crowd.
Yeah.
And if you don't have ADHD, you're not gonna be able to capture the crowd. Because they're gonna be looking like, wow, I love his energy, I love his smiling, I love the way he put things and how he communicate things. So I teach the kids that I mentor to, man, you have ADHD, that's a gift. Use it to your advantage. And what I did, because I didn't learn how to read and write till I was 25. And I ended up getting my GED, I ended up going to college, and I ended up teaching people how to read and write as well. So what I had to learn to do, I had to learn how to get it the way I had to learn, because I can't learn like the rest of the people in school. So what I did was, my daddy would tell me all the time. He used to get mad at me because I used to rap ever since I was 11 to 10, 9, 10 years old. And whatever song come on the radio, I remember it. I know it about word for word. And he'll be like, you remember that schoolwork, you'll be smart. And that's all he'll say. Well, you remember the raps like you remember schoolwork, like you remember the raps, you'll be smart. And what I had to learn to do in school, and not to turn my work into rap, but to program it, something that I don't know to something that I do know. So now that every time that somebody teaches me something, I catch it like this, because I'm always turning it into a mental picture. If you give me your phone number, I remember, because I know it gonna have my birthday, social security card, social security number, address in it somewhere, a number that I'm already familiar with. Right. So that's how I learn quickly. And I teach the kids that I mentor to that you just got to program something that you don't know with something that you do know, and long enough to stick. I also went to elementary school, and I spoke with kids, the boys in bow tie, and I gave an example. I said, anybody like history? Raise your hand. I don't like history. I'm like, I ain't like history neither though, because I mean, the only thing they talk about is Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. Now, these people that they talking about, I don't look like these people, so I'm not familiar with. So what I'm thinking about while you talking about Abraham Lincoln, I'm thinking about, man, what I'm gonna do when I get home, and what I'm gonna do the next game come out. That's what I'm thinking about. So I tell them that when your teacher is talking about Abraham Lincoln, like Abraham Lincoln ain't got to, he can have a fade. He don't have to ride on a horse. He can be in a Lamborghini. Whatever picture that you paint in your head long enough for it to stick and for you to pay attention to what she's saying, do it. You don't have to listen to no one else's story. Create your own story. And that's how I mentor. And with kids, and I say this, and I'm gonna be quiet. Putting your kids on medication is the wrong thing to do. I am a living witness. Do not put your kids on any kind of medication. Let them be kids. Let them enjoy life, because I'm telling you, if we as adults would go back to the faith and believing like we did as a child, we'll get a lot of things that we ask God for. Because a child, you can't tell a child no, that they can't have it. You can't tell a child that his imaginary friend in the room ain't talking to them. You can't tell them that. It's because they program their mind, they familiar with faith, and it's like, I can do all things. But when we become adults, we feel like, oh, fear kicking in, and what if? Why, how, But as a kid, hey, we sky's the limit. But when you put them on medication, you limit their memory, you limit their faith, and you limit their personality. So do not do it.
I want to say this. I want to play devil's advocate for a minute if I can. Okay.
Yes.
And I know that you have Diane, who's a therapist, you're a mentor, you're a coach, and you also work in reform. I'm a coach, okay? And a pastor. So we all ministers. So are there times where medicine is appropriate?
Yes.
Hold on, I'm gonna tell y'all. When y'all were talking, I heard this parallel thing that you can also make the same claim for people who may be struggling with mental illness. So are you telling that you shouldn't medicate a person that has mental illness that actually have some chemical imbalance going on? Because I've heard a lot of people who have mental illness like bipolar, schizophrenic, and other things. They say they feel different too when they get on that psychotropic medicine. They don't feel like they're the same person. They lose to some of the most creative people also have some mental illnesses, and they feel like they lose that creative edge, that genius, that je ne sais quoi that makes them different when they're on the medicine. So that's why they get off, they're up and down. They're on the medicine, they're regulated, but they're not themselves. They get off the medicine, they're off the chain in terms of their behavior, but then they're doing the thing that makes them uniquely them. And so that there's always kind of like almost could be a parallel to,
Because, you know, those hypomanic stages, when a person is having those hypomanic stages, they can go 2-3 days, and that's dangerous, without sleep. And they have this euphoria and this energy and a lot of grandiose thoughts, you know. And so that's where they're most creative places. But the danger is when they become psychotic. And so with individuals,
what does psychotic mean?
so when they have episodes of paranoia or delusions where they're not able to differentiate from what is real and what's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have there's audible there's audible psychosis. So it can come in different forms: visual, audio, you know, and so forth. So they'll tell you there's somebody in the room and there's nobody in the room.
Ain't nobody in the room.
Right.
Listen, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna be good. Okay.
Commanding voices that tell them kill themselves or kill someone. So these are real problems that, you know, we know medication helps to really diminish the, you know, control at least.
My thing with medication is that as parents, we have to do the research because we know everything has side effects, right? So I think that where we go wrong at as parents and as people of color, when it comes to putting our kids on this kind of medicine, is that our lack of knowledge for this medicine. We give it to them and it slows them down. So it's like, great, you slow down. That's good. That's what we need. But it's other things. It's mental things that comes with that, because you put something in your body for so long, and when you stop giving it to them, they start craving for it. I used to say when I was young, give me my medicine. I need my medicine. And I used to just beat the table like, give me my medicine. Boom. I was in a group home. I used to kick on the door. They used to put me in timeout, lock the door. I used to kick on the door, curse the staff members out. Give me my medicine. And for so long, I thought that the medicine was keeping me calm.
Right.
But it was the opposite. Right. And you got to do the research, and you just can't up people doses. Now, my sister, Monique, her son had ADHD and he was hyper. What she did was she split it in half. She didn't give him the whole dosage. She gave him a piece of it. And she gave him a piece of it and checked with the teacher and say, how was James today? And she was like, well, James was a little hyper. So she cut him off a little bit more to keep him balanced. And she communicated with James every day. How you feeling? How did you feel throughout the day? Did you feel drowsy? Did you feel this? So basically what she was doing was trying to come up with a particular dosage that her son would be balanced with. And that's what I say when medicine is okay, when you do the proper research and don't just up the doses or down the doses. You got to do your homework.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in. This is so good. So I have Dr. Michelle Johnson on here, who is in higher ed, and she's saying that, you know, there has to be behavior intervention. And I think that what I would say is it's a holistic approach to this. Medicine is the quick, easy go-to, but you have to get beyond the medicine. I think medicine is the answer once you have exhausted all of your options. And sometimes it may be a combination of options. You need to find out. That's what really I think the IEP was originally for. It wasn't just for them figuring out how they learn. It was trying to find multiple ways to support the student so that they can get through their educational process. Is that a good way to describe it? IEP, Queen Mother? Okay, good. So she wrote hundreds of IEPs. So we have to exhaust our other options. I even think with mental illness, we have to exhaust multiple options before we just say yes, unless they are at a place where it's clear that they are psychotic, right? They can't tell between reality and real. And many of us have dealt with folks who clearly they cannot tell the difference between real and fantasy or what's in their mind. I mean, one of the greatest movies to demonstrate that to me was A Beautiful Mind. If you've never seen that with Russell Crowe, the first part of the movie, You think this genius professor is having all these amazing experiences, and, working with the FBI and doing all this stuff, only to find out all of this was happening in his head. None of it was real. None of it was real. And listen, we got a lot of people walking around in the church, in all these places. They are, and that's the problem with the church, is we can spiritualize it and make it be, the Lord said, oh, I know what I see in the spirit realm. But I want to say this, not to get too deep off into that. Even going back to what we were discussing earlier, I think a part of the reason why racism is being so seen outside of social media and people having phones is because the mental illness allows people to not be able to regulate what they've been able to hide for so long. Look at all these Karens. That's a spirit.
Yeah.
Karen is a spirit. Ken is a spirit. You can look at their face and tell they all.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see it.
I'm on the street and you trying to tell me what I need to do. And on the man, Blaine, you better get in your car.
Just know that you should approach a black man like that.
Listen,
Or any man for that.
because you don't know, because you off. So, and I don't say all, I'm not being derogatory towards anybody that knows me knows I'm very sensitive about mental illness. And I want people to be well in every regard.
As well.
Yeah, we all are. We want people to be well.
I cannot stand insensitivity to that. It's easy to crack a little laugh at it.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not funny.
It's not funny.
It's not funny at all.
It's a serious matter. And I know for me, I've tried to create a culture even at The Rock where we embrace people who are going through different journeys in their mental process and let them know they're welcome, we love them, and they're received and they can serve. Right. And so not making any jokes, but I do think that is connected to a lot of the racial outbursts we're seeing. Look at them, look at their face. You can see that. And then also you can see it, you can see it in relationships, like we've been talking about. A lot of times in relationships, people are bringing all sorts of emotional, mental stuff to their relationship and they're being triggered. They don't even know why they're being triggered. But I think the worst thing to do, and I know black men have been very guilty of this, is telling them like, well, you're crazy. Well, you're just crazy. You're crazy. All women are crazy. No, you don't know what that was. Now, some of them are, but even if they are, it's a reason. And so versus just jumping and saying, you're crazy, maybe find out what has happened to get you to this point. And so I just think it's a lot wrapped up in all of this. But I want us to circle, let's pivot to something you said earlier. And I think we need to be thinking about is education will never be the same again.
Right.
Yeah, it has changed.
Yeah, schools are now giving people the option. You can send your kids to school; they can watch online. Not is every parent. But that's the thing: is every parent even in a position to make that determination if they go send their stay at home?
I'll tell you when COVID hit.
You can parent your child. Some parents are barely managing themselves, let alone able to teach their child. Come on.
When COVID hit, when COVID hit, right before Department of Behavioral Health allow many of us to do telehealth, parents were coming into the counseling center and they were complaining that a lot of their kids didn't even have the issued laptops. So you have a lot of kids that ended the school year who didn't even finish their schoolwork. I know that for a fact because the parents were complaining about it. And some of them were saying, look, it's no way I can keep up with the work. Right. So, and one parent told me every week they were asking her to go and drop off the printed documents because the child's laptop wasn't working.
Wow.
So if we have those kind of holes coming out of COVID, what are we going into? I'm trying to figure out if they really have kind of figured this thing out. And I think I think they're not prepared, but they're going to try. They're going to test a lot of things out.
It's a disaster waiting to happen. It's a recipe for disaster, which is why, and like people are saying on here, thank you for saying on here. The other thing I thought about was economic inequality. Look who has the ability to keep their kids at school and they actually learn. People who are in a financial position to do that. People who work from home, people who don't have a normal 9 to 5, or people who have the additional income to hire people to come in and help. But the average Black person in America don't have they gotta go to work. I can't be at home watching you do your work. So what they're gonna end up doing? Sending their kids to school. And then what happens if they require kids going back to school to get this COVID-19 vaccine that I keep prophesying to y'all? Don't take it. Don't do it. Don't, I'm telling you, it is, and I'm not a big conspiracy person, but I do not trust this vaccine. And so then again, the interlocking of pharmaceutical, education, economic oppression, and racism, all being is the intersectionality of it all. And so then, okay, only poor and black and brown and immigrant children are going to have to go to the building, but then you have to get the vaccine to go to the building. But you can't say you can't take the vaccine, and if you keep your kids out of school, that's truancy. That's a punishable offense. It's a snowball effect. So my question is, what is Black Kingdom people going to do? Are we going to be sitting ducks waiting, trying to scramble in August to figure out what we're going to do? What is it that we need to be doing to get ahead of this?
I have an answer.
Please talk to us, because we need to talk.
I think that we need to make ourselves responsible for our children and for as many children as we can possibly make ourselves responsible for. As far as it was concerned with my daughter, I homeschool her in the 4th grade, and I also homeschool her now. I studied the Bible with her. I studied her lessons with her, and now she's capable of learning herself. She's a scholar, and me as a single mom, you know, she doesn't even have a father in the household. I'm doing the best that I can, and my daughter is succeeding. She was a scholar for the 9th grade, all A's, 1B for the entire year, because I teach her at home. We don't have a whole lot of money. We have what we need. I'm not way high in the socioeconomic bracket, but right now you can consider me to be middle class, you know, but I'm doing the best that I can. So every parent is not equipped and capable with the thought capacity, the time, the education, and all that you need in order to sit with your child. Don't have the patience to sit with their children. Don't know where to start. But I've been teaching her ever since, you know, she could think. I've been teaching her myself. And so I'm going to be at an advantage. If I have to keep her home, I will. In fact, I believe I am going to be keeping her home. She doesn't want to stay home, but I'm probably going to keep her home because I want to teach her. And at the end of the day, I think parents need to become responsible for their children. Unfortunately, because of that socioeconomic breakdown and because of the systemic racism, because of the poverty, because of all of those different factors, those parents are not going to know where to start. And so again, you're going to have a worse situation as far as the learning curve, as far as our children are concerned. And again, it's not going to be because of their capacity for learning. It's going to be because their parents cannot afford to do what it took in order to save their children as far as education is concerned in this time period. So what the kingdom, you know, needs to do is come up with a strategy on helping our children to learn and be educated, whether it be, you know, looking at what the school is teaching and doing something virtually to help each grade, you know, where there's educators, where children can just come onto a portal and, you know, get tutoring. There's so many things that we can work on and that we can do together, you know, in the kingdom. We can put our funds together. But, you know, a lot of people are not going to do it. But I think it's something that has to happen. We can't just sit back and talk about, you know, what are we going to do? Something has to be done, or else we are really going to start seeing a lot of these children in a prison. We're going to see a lot of these children become worker bees. We're going to see a lot of these children out here, you know, crime is going to go up. Going to have more children, you know, more of them growing up, having babies, etc. Generation Z is at a loss if we don't come up with what we're going to do to help educate our children in this time. I'm telling you.
So let me say this. I agree wholeheartedly. That's why we're putting the call out there. Rock Nation, we got to do something, right? Particularly here in Atlanta. Yes, please.
Excuse me, Don.
From 9th through 12th grade, free of charge, free computers, they get online instructors that will come online and help us. So this is nothing new.
Right, so right,
What
yeah.
I'm trying to say is that everything is the same way I always have been, but because a lot of parents did not take advantage, but it
Right.
always has been
Right.
free homeschooling kindergarten through 12th grade, free computers, free online instructions, and so it is up to the parents
Mhm.
to decide what model they want to use. It's free.
Okay, I agree. So I think what Queen Mother said is very valid. A lot of people don't know that there is free homeschooling, but let's be honest, homeschooling is really a thing that people are just now really considering. It was seen as something outside of the norm.
But the
Right.
idea of it is intimidating. It is intimidating. I think a lot of it's wonderful, but you have to understand the idea of teaching your child, especially when some of these parents feel like they don't have the capacity. I hear parents complain about. I even was trying to help with one of my mentees work out some math problems. I was challenged. I got 2 master's degree and I couldn't help that girl figure out some of those problems. And so
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it's intimidating. But when Sharita was speaking, I cannot help because it's something I believe the Lord keeps drawing us towards the Acts 2 community.
Mhm.
Acts 2.
Yeah.
And we have started to see it slowly over the years, where you see a lot of cooperative initiatives started taking place. Like when schools and educators started growing gardens, teaching the kids they want to improve. Like Michelle Obama, I think she had started this initiative with healthy foods and gardens. But I think we got to get to the point where it goes from the food table now to the living room. The I don't know how we're going to do it, but I think that as a community, we got to help each other with helping teach and tutor these children and not expect that parents have to pay you money when they can't afford to do it.
right.
If you have the skills and the mindset to do it, we got to come together and do it because I truly believe that's where we got to come together as a community and form a way to do that. I don't know how, but
See, the thing about it is, like I said from the beginning, we got to do our homework as parents. Like some parents are just lazy. Some parents have their priorities mixed up. And it's a lot of things. Like Queen Mother was saying, there's a lot of things that've been out there for a long time. We just don't do the research. We don't do the homework. There's a lot of
Yeah.
nonprofit organizations. There's a lot of nonprofit and Black organizations that can help kids and do all these things. And it's some that's in the making. But as parents, we got to do our homework. As
Yeah.
Black people, we got to come together. Now, we always come together when a shooting comes. We protest month, 2 months, 3 months, and then we don't see them no more. See, but
right.
what the white supremacists know, they know that okay, we can give them that. Let them protest. In 2, 3 months, we ain't gonna hear about it again. So
Right.
allow them to do that. Us as Black people, we got to make a stand. We can't continue to let up after 3, 4 months. Even when some of these police officers get convicted of murder that they've been doing, we need to keep going back because they've been doing this for history long and long after. 10 years ago, we need to go and look up some of them old files again, because if we don't hold these people responsible and accountable for their actions, then it's just the cycle is going to be ongoing. And if it's going to be ongoing, then after we are gone, our children are going to face the same exact thing. So if you want to put a stop to all this, for once, we're going to have to start coming together and stand together. Not for 2 or 3 months, we're going to have to stay together. We're going to have to protect our neighborhood like back in the days they did. We're going to have to police ourselves. And when it comes to school, there's a lot of Black people out here who's so smart with a lot of money, a lot of resources. You don't have to do nothing but just come together. That's all we have to do. We don't have to spend with other people. We need to spend with ourselves. We need to come in our community. As I tell the kids I mentor to, I say, hey, JJ mom is your mom. JJ grandmom is your grandma. JJ, his grandmom is your grandma. You treat each and every one in this community like family. Don't let no one come in here disrupting nothing that we got going on. Don't let no one steal. Don't let no one, if they trying to beat up somebody, we're going to beat them up together. And we're going to run them out of here. We're not gonna fight each other. We're not gonna call each other names and put down each other. Okay, yeah, it's okay to have fun.
You're building a culture,
Right,
community.
right.
So let me say this, because I'm gonna bring up time to an end, because like I said, I have family here. They've been quiet and nice for an hour. But I want to say this, Rock Nation, and you saw on the wall, Dr. Winford put it there. I agree, and many of you all are saying that the church needs to step up. This is an opportunity for the church. Most Black schools started in churches. Most HBCUs started in churches. And so the paradigm is already there. It's already in the foundation. We need to return there. And Rock Nation, we're going to be, as I said this morning at 6 a.m. prayer, I'm going to say it again, we're going to be pulling on educators, former educators, to figure out, I've heard some things, of course, online private schooling, but again, what if you don't feel competent to homeschool, right? How can we create these communities? Or another thing I've heard about recently is micro-schooling. I have a friend in Montgomery who's doing micro-schooling. It's going back to the one-room school, right?
Yes.
We have kids in different grades in the same room. They have their technology, but you have a trained teacher in that room who knows how to manage that room of, I guess, 10 to 12, no more than maybe 10 to 12 kids at different grade levels going through their training, but they have a teacher there. How can we as a ministry raise the funds, and people sold to the funds, create about 5 micro-schooling rooms and put our kids in there and let them go? Those that don't live in Atlanta, how do we create a virtual micro-schooling system where they can come online and they have a person online with them that guides them and leads them and can answer questions and provide structure? So that's just one of many alternatives outside of, the online homeschooling that's free. Yes, that's available, but what if that doesn't work in your model and paradigm? We have to look at a variety of things, but the church has to be able to offer some solutions. So listen, we will be reaching out to those. Let's see. So one says, I don't think you all are giving parents, Mama Kay, I don't think you all are giving parents the credit they deserve. The vast majority of parents are very capable.
I did. I said some parents, they just don't have the capacity. So we're sensitive to that.
Yeah, but she said that some parents actually are. That's why they are your children. You are the best person to care for your child. The bad parents are the exception. And money is not the most important factor. Many children who come from little resources and loving homes do just fine. So yeah, I do think that there are some parents who are doing wonderful and great. There's some parents who are not good parents, or they're just not secure enough to engage. So we need to provide some solutions, and we will. But listen, we're gonna wrap this up.
Can I say this?
Please.
Add this. Now, what we as, and I'm talking about my people, Black men and women. What we got to do more often is read. We got to pick up a book, and I ain't talking about no magazines, books with pictures in it. I'm talking about read, reference books, self-help books, things that going to acquire the mind to grow. And when the mind grows, the more you become active in your physical. So let's get back to the root, and let's go back to reading. Let's go back to creating stuff in our minds that when they say that this door can't be open, let's find ways to open this door. Let's stick together. Let our education be more important than what's going on around us. And take this opportunity to spend time with your kids, and not just with the game, and not just with letting them stay up all night because it's they don't have to go to school in the morning. But putting a book in front of them.
Look, I'm busting up my seams to say this. Priority. 2 things I want to say. Emory professor said to me some years back, he said, if you want to hide the truth of a matter, he said, put it in a book.
Yes.
He said, put it in the book. I'm telling you,
that's why we are the way we are.
That priorities. And this is something I was busting at the seams, but I was just waiting for the place to share this. We've all been there. All of us as leaders have done wonderful things for the community, and you get one person show up. And it's free. Giving up your time, giving up your gifts, giving up your talents, giving up resources. And you market that thing. Oh my God. And one person show up. We got to change our priorities. But when the Nike shoes go on sale, the Air Jordans go on sale,
The long line.
Around the building. And I say, sometimes I have wept before the Lord. I've wept before the Lord. And I said, Father, you throw $100 at them, they're gonna fight. But you throw a book at them, they're gonna run.
See, but,
And last longer.
see, but this the thing about what people don't know, that they put stuff like this in our community to keep us blind.
Yes, bondage,
So
bound.
They throw the new Jordans and the latest design just because they can get, just so they can get all your little money.
Well, here's the thing, they know we're consumers, like I keep saying. We need to stop being consumers
Right.
and become creators.
Yes.
We are creators.
Yes.
Stop being consumers. And with that, I will pull this whole
I've been
thing.
creative. I got one more thing. Okay. Let me piggyback on this thing real quick. I read all of those books when I was a kid, okay? And look what I did. I ended up getting involved in education reform. I started my own nonprofit organization designed to increase the capacity for learning for children. Yeah, I had the mayor getting ready to donate me computers. I had one of the major stakeholders in the town that I did this in, you know, ready to donate land. I was going to put a community garden there. I worked for all of these different nonprofit organizations designed for education reform, you know, and at the end of the day, we rallied all of these parents together. We did so many things. We fed them. And again, you invite all of these people out to teach them, to educate them, you know, to try to help them. And yes, only about maybe 2% of the community would show up. And I think that we as kingdom builders have to get before the Lord and say, what are we going to do? What is the bait? What are we going to do to get parents to react and respond? Because the truth of the matter is, we can educate our children in homeschooling, but what about that single mom who did not have grandma and granddad like me, who did not have grandma and granddad, who did not get sat down with the Bible? I went and got a degree in biblical studies, okay, because of what my grandparents did with me. But what about the ones who did not get that opportunity, who is not that they don't care, but their priorities have to be put in all of these different places. They have to spend time on working. They have to spend time on trying to educate themselves. They have to spend time on a social life. You have to spend time parenting. Where are you going to find the time to make sure that your child is being educated in a manner that they need to when daddy is gone? Where are they going to find the time to do that? And so my point is, there are some people who are good people. They may have money, they may not have people. To do as a community, back to square one, to be there for the people who want to do it, who we give kudos to parents. But at the end of the day, this whole COVID-19 thing is going to put us in a deficit if we don't come together and try to figure something out. It's going to leave us in a deficit. And we have to come up with those strategies. That the nonprofit that I had designed to increase the capacity for learning for children and parental building mechanisms. So I would get parents together. I had the children working to interview the senators, interview mayors, give them different experiences, you know?
Well, you know what? Isn't it awesome that Prophet Sharia is now over Rock Movement, our children and youth?
Ralph and Sharita.
Right? So listen, so you have, so I'm showing you we have educated, well-informed, well-equipped people to do this. They're going to partner up with our operations and marketplace impact, because this is part of that. And we're going to pull our educators together. We're going to create something. We're going to come back next week, and we have a week to do some research. We're going to come back. We're going to start talking through some of this stuff. And I don't lean on you, Prophet Sharia, to lead us in this discussion. I may bring some educators in our assembly to come in, and let's talk about what can be done. Yeah, Queen Mother of that Capitol, she got a little attitude. Show the class.
No, but we need Queen Mother's expertise in there too. Yeah,
Queen Mother, Dr. Howells on here. We need to bring.
Come on. Right. Dr. Johnson on there. Come on.
Yep. So it's be good. But listen, we love y'all. We hope that you enjoyed this discussion. We look forward to continuing to discuss education. And listen, this is what the prophetic is for, and the church is for is for these type of discourses. We haven't had enough of these type of conversations in the church, and we should be having them. So we pray you will bless, share the broadcast, and let people know they need to be on here next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time for this discussion. And hopefully our Prophetess Diane will be with us in person. We'll be here together.
Yay.
Yay.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
We'll be able to bring on other people. We're going to have a great discussion on education. All right, may the Lord bless you. Have a great night. We love you. See you next week.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Bye, Prophetess.
Love you guys.